everyone, this is Lomi, and I'm back for round 2 with these boots I started for Arrios, my SID Omar. The past few weeks have been nuts, so I didn't have time to reply to the comments, but I did want to thank all of you for your feedback on where this pair went wrong and how I could do better. I read every comment left for me on that video, and I think things turned out a lot better this time around. In case you want to make your own, I've put the pattern I created up on my website, and you can see how I put these together in this video here. I started with sewing the toe and heel pieces together. One recommendation that came up a lot was trying a different material. The vinyl I had is good for doll shoes, but it wasn't working well for these boots in particular. What I ended up using is also vinyl, but it's got a stretchy fabric backing and a flocked texture. It's actually not the material I planned to get when I went to the store, but this one was on clearance, and I got it kind of as an impulse, thinking it would work well for this. Another popular suggestion was eliminating the exterior seams. They work well and look cool on human-sized boots, but they were just too bulky for a doll and created the impression these boots were larger than they actually were. I kept the exterior stitching on the sides, as you can see where the heel, toe, and leg all go together, but those seams lay flat, so they aren't intrusive to the design. I digitized a henna design I liked and turned it into an embroidery design for the upper part of the leg, and unfortunately, the vinyl didn't take it too well. Even with top stabilizer, the design really sank into the vinyl and ended up not being super visible. I may go over it with some gold paint in the future just to help it stand out, but it was worth a try. The outer side of each boot has the embroidered design, while the inside is plain. I considered putting the embroidery on both the inside and outside, but since it sank through the vinyl so badly, I decided to skip it, because it would just create more work for me later if I decide to paint over the design. The biggest difference in construction is that when the two sides of the boots go together, I put the material right sides together and sew the front and back seams closed that way. This keeps the most visible seams to the inside, and even though these are the exact same pattern as I made before, so they're exactly the same size, this helps the boots appear much smaller. I trimmed the excess material from the seam allowance to reduce bulkiness on the inside. I turned one boot right side out to check how it was looking, and I was really happy with the result. I was determined to keep the flat sole because that was one element I really liked. But the brown vinyl I used before seemed too thick, so instead I used a piece of brown micro suede fabric. I pinned the sole to the boot's upper, again with right sides together. As kind of a last-minute stroke of inspiration, I decided it would be cool to incorporate some trim up the front seam of the boot. So I slid a gold cord in at the toe so it was on the inside of the boot. Then everything just got sewn together. Going around the heel was the hardest part, but using tweezers helped me guide that tight curve without the material of the upper being caught in this seam. Once the sole was connected, I turned the boot right side out and used clear nylon thread to connect the cord to the front. I suppose this could have been done by machine if I had thought of it earlier, but I didn't, so oh well. The top edge looked a little plain too, so in the moment I shared a few trim options with a group of friends and together we settled on adding a narrow gold ribbon around the top. This got sewn on by hand with the clear nylon thread too. Now the boots were almost done, but they needed one last thing to make them a success where the other pair failed. I cut a pair of inner soles and a rounded support for the heel from craft foam, turned the boots inside out, and used hot glue to anchor them to the inside. Gluing the foam to the suede fabric on the bottom gave it the rigidity it needed, without any thickness at the seams, so the curled toe would hold its shape a lot better. When gluing in the heel support, I used a dowel rod to ensure the heel didn't collapse while I was putting it in. Then, when it was cooled, I turned the boot right side out, and it turned out pretty much perfect. So even though I used the same pattern, these boots came out pretty different from what I did originally. They're not too much like my initial plan, but I really like the end result. So at this point, this doll is finally officially done, with a nice outfit made completely by hand. The knife I gave him is actually a terrible scale for dolls, but it belonged to my cool uncle who went on all kinds of adventures around the world. I like incorporating little things my uncle left behind into a lot of my projects, and I miss him a lot this time of year, so it seemed like the knife he brought back from Istanbul would be exactly the sort of thing an adventurer like Arrios would have. Kindred spirits and all that, always traveling, seeing the world, and taking trinkets home. But yeah, that's one more doll completed and on to the next project. But that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.